you've been told something your entire life without ever questioning it. That space is open. That the universe is like a vast ocean waiting to be crossed. That one day, humanity will simply go out there and spread across the stars like it's just a matter of time, technology, and effort. But that idea is comforting. Not true. Look up at the night sky. Really look at it. Every point of light you see is not just far away, it is separated from you by distances so extreme that your mind cannot hold them without shrinking them into something fake and manageable. Light years sounds scientific, but it is also a disguise. It hides the emotional weight of what it actually means. Even light, the fastest thing in existence, takes years just to cross the space between stars. And here is where reality begins to crack your assumptions. You are not looking at a reachable frontier. You are looking at a structure of separation. A system designed not for travel, but for distance. The universe is not arranged like a map where destinations are waiting to be reached. It is more like a slow unfolding silence where everything is drifting apart permanently and continuously. And you, as a human mind, are standing inside it trying to imagine crossing it like a road. That is the first illusion. Now here is the uncomfortable part most people never sit with long enough. Your intuition is completely wrong at cosmic scale. On Earth, distance means something. You walk. You fly. Every barrier eventually yields to motion. So your brain builds a quiet assumption over your entire life. If I keep going, I will get there. But space breaks that assumption at every level. Because space is not just big, it is relentlessly non-cooperative. Even if you remove every technical limitation we currently have, fuel, engines, engineering, the universe itself does not permit easy crossing. Physics has ceilings. Hard ceilings, not made of metal or rock, but of law. Invisible boundaries that do not bend, even for intelligence. And here is the first brutal realization. You are not too early for space travel. You are not too underdeveloped. You are simply inside a system where large-scale travel may never become physically meaningful. That is not pessimism. That is structure. Now go deeper. Every star you see is not sitting still waiting for you. They are moving, orbiting, drifting, and the space between them is expanding. So even the idea of going to another star assumes something that is not stable. You are trying to step across something that is widening as you move toward it. Like running on a bridge that is slowly stretching away from your feet. That is not just difficult. That is fundamentally hostile to arrival. And here is the second truth that disrupts everything you think you know. The universe is not only vast, it is becoming more unreachable over time. There are galaxies right now whose light will never reach us again. Not because of technology, not because of time, but because space itself is expanding faster than information can travel across it. That means parts of reality are already lost to you. Not in the future. Now. So when people talk about future space civilizations, they are often imagining control over something that is actively slipping away. And still, the human mind resists this idea. It wants optimism. It wants conquest. It wants a narrative where distance eventually loses. But physics does not negotiate with desire. It does not respond to ambition. It does not care how advanced intelligence becomes. It only enforces consistency. And that brings you to a final uncomfortable thought. Maybe the universe was never designed to be traveled the way we imagine it. Maybe the scale is not just large, but intentionally out of alignment with biological existence. As if intelligence is allowed to observe, calculate, and wonder, but not physically dissolve the structure of separation. This is where the hook becomes something deeper than science. It becomes a confrontation with expectation itself. Because if space is not a place you can realistically go, then everything you associate with exploration changes meaning. The dream of crossing stars shifts from engineering problem to philosophical boundary. And suddenly you are forced to ask a question most people avoid. If the universe cannot be physically reached in the way we imagine, then what exactly are we meant to do with the awareness of it? That question does not have a comfortable answer. But it changes how you see everything that comes next. There is a line in the universe that cannot be crossed. Not because humans are weak, not because technology is incomplete, but because reality itself refuses to allow it. That line is the speed of light. And it is not just a number, a law. A built-in restriction written into the structure of space and time itself. Everything with mass is trapped below it. Every rocket, every ship, every future civilization you can imagine. None of them are allowed to break it. Not now. Not ever. And here's the part that quietly destroys the fantasy of deep space travel. The closer you get to that speed, the harder it becomes to go faster. It is not like driving a car where more fuel equals more speed. It is not like flight where engines can be upgraded. It is something far more brutal. As you accelerate, your mass increases. Your energy requirement explodes. Time itself begins to distort around you. You are not just pushing forward anymore, you are pushing against the structure of reality. And reality pushes back harder, infinitely harder. So even in the most optimistic version of future technology, Even if humanity becomes a civilization that can harness energy beyond imagination, the universe still draws a line and says, no further. Now understand what this actually means. It means there is a maximum limit to motion itself. A ceiling not built by engineering failure, but by the architecture of existence. And here comes the first shocking realization most people never emotionally absorb. Even if you could travel at 99.9% the speed of light, the universe would still feel brutally distant. Let's make that real. The nearest star system, Alpha Centauri, is about 4.3 light years away. At near light speed, it would still take years of travel time, not days. Years. The Milky Way galaxy alone is about 100,000 light years across. Now pause on that. Even at speeds humans can barely imagine achieving, crossing our own galaxy would take longer than the entire recorded history of human civilization multiplied many times over. And that is if everything goes perfectly. No decay, no human limitation, no external damage, just physics running exactly as allowed. Now here is the second more disturbing realization: you do not experience the universe the way it is. You experience it delayed. Everything you see is already in the past. Sunlight takes time to reach you. Starlight takes years, centuries, sometimes millions of years. So even your understanding of now is already outdated at cosmic scale. You are always living in a translated version of reality. And yet, even in that delayed perception, the universe still places a hard restriction on how far you can ever physically reach. This creates a contradiction in human imagination. We can see farther than we can ever go. We can observe more than we can ever touch. We can calculate destinations that are permanently inaccessible. That gap between vision and reach is not a temporary engineering problem. It is structural. Now here is the third and most uncomfortable truth. Speed does not just limit travel, it changes existence itself. If you somehow travel close to light speed, time slows down for you. This is not theory. This is measured reality. It is called time dilation. To you, the journey feels shorter. But outside your ship, time continues normally, which means when you arrive somewhere far away, you are no longer in the same era you left. People you knew, gone. Civilizations, written without you. So even successful interstellar travel is not a victory. It is a separation from your own time. You do not just travel through space. You are displaced from reality's timeline. And this leads to the most brutal realization of all: the universe does not allow equal access to distance and time at the same moment. You can have one, but never both. Either you move fast and lose your time, or you stay in time and lose distance. There is no version of physics where you freely keep both. And this destroys the common fantasy of human expansion across the stars as a simple extension of progress. Because progress does not rewrite limits. It works inside them. So what does this mean for everything you believe about space travel? It means the first wall is not a technological barrier. It is a reality barrier that does not negotiate with intelligence, evolution, or ambition. And once you fully accept this, something unsettling becomes clear. The universe is not holding you back out of difficulty. It is holding you back out of principle. And principles in physics are not suggestions. They are absolute. Even if you accept the speed limit of reality, even if you accept that nothing can outrun light, there is still another problem waiting underneath it. A deeper one. A colder one. The universe itself is moving away from you. Not galaxies flying through space like thrown objects. Something far more disturbing. Space itself is stretching. Every second, the fabric of reality expands. Distances increase without anything moving in the traditional sense. It is not motion inside space, it is space itself changing size. And that single idea destroys the most basic assumption behind exploration. That destinations remain reachable if you try long enough. They don't, because the target is not fixed. Understand what this means in physical terms. Imagine you are trying to walk to a wall. But every step you take, the floor beneath you expands. Not slowly in a way you can compensate for, but continuously. Reversely, so the faster you try to reach it, the more it shifts away. That is the structure of the cosmos at large scales. And here is the first shocking realization most people never fully internalize. There are regions of the universe that are already gone from us. Not in the sense of far away, in the sense of permanently unreachable. Their light may still be arriving, or it may already be too late. But their physical presence is receding faster than anything could ever travel toward them, even light itself. That means no matter how advanced a future civilization becomes, there are parts of reality that are no longer part of its possible future. Not because of lack of intelligence, but because expansion is already won. This leads to a brutal shift in perspective. The universe is not a place you move through. It is a place that decides what can remain connected and what gets erased from possibility. Now here is the second harsh truth. Distance in space is not stable. What is 10 billion light years away today was not 10 billion light years away when the light left it. And by the time any signal reaches you, the object may no longer be in the same relative position at all. So even communication across the universe is distorted by time and expansion. You are never interacting with the universe as it is, only with what it used to be and what it is becoming without you. This creates a strange and uncomfortable reality. The cosmos is not a static map. It is a moving boundary system. Some regions remain connected. Others drift beyond the limit where information, travel, or influence can ever reach them again. Scientists call this kind of boundary a cosmic horizon, but emotionally it means something simpler and more brutal. There are places in existence that you will never access. Not now, ever. And no amount of progress changes that. Now here is the third realization, the one that quietly breaks the dream of infinite expansion. The more the universe expands, the less of it belongs to us. Future civilizations may become more advanced, more intelligent, more powerful, but paradoxically, they will have access to less of the universe than earlier ones, because expansion accelerates separation faster than exploration can compensate. So progress does not guarantee reach. It only guarantees better understanding of what is no longer reachable. And here is where the illusion finally cracks. We imagine the universe as something we grow into, but physically, it behaves more like something we are being slowly isolated inside. A bubble that is expanding, carrying distant regions away from causal connection. Now think about what that means for space travel beyond stars. Even if a ship could travel at near light speed, even if it could survive radiation, time dilation, and distance, it would still be chasing a moving target. And that target is not slowing down. It is accelerating away. So every mission becomes a race where the finish line is actively retreating. This is not science fiction limitation. This is cosmic structure. And it leads to the most uncomfortable realization of this section. The universe does not just prevent easy travel. It removes destinations from possibility entirely. Not by blocking you, but by separating you from them at the level of space itself. And once you see this clearly, the idea of exploring everything starts to collapse. Because everything was never meant to stay reachable. The cosmos is not waiting to be fully visited. It is continuously dividing itself into what can be reached and what is already beyond the edge of reach forever. Even if you ignore distance, even if you ignore the speed limit, even if you pretend expansion can somehow be overcome, there is still one final barrier, and it is not out there. It is you, because space is not empty in a harmless way. It is empty in a violent, unfiltered, unprotected way. Here on Earth, you live inside a shield you never notice, a magnetic field, an atmosphere, a stable environment that filters radiation, stabilizes temperature, and quietly keeps your biology alive without you ever asking for it. Outside of it, there is no protection, mercy, just raw physics. And raw physics does not care about life. First harsh truth, space is radiation heavy enough to slowly destroy living tissue. Cosmic rays move through you without resistance. They break DNA at the molecular level. They do not need a dramatic explosion to harm you. They just pass through, silently damaging the code that keeps you alive. On Earth, this is mostly blocked. In deep space, it is constant. So even if you reach the stars in theory, the journey itself becomes a long-term biological breakdown. Now think deeper. Bodies are not built for isolation and zero gravity. Bones lose density. Muscles weaken. The heart changes its rhythm. Even the immune system begins to behave differently. This is not adaptation in a positive sense. It is decay in a different environment. Your body is not exploring space. It is being slowly redesigned by conditions it was never meant to survive. Second harsh truth. The farther you go, the less human you remain in a biological sense. And then comes something even more psychologically disturbing. Time itself starts to fracture your experience of reality. According to relativity, high-speed travel changes how time flows for you compared to everyone else. If you travel fast enough, your time slows down. To you, the journey might feel manageable. But back on Earth, time continues normally. Years pass. Decades pass. Entire generations are born and die. So when you return, if you return, you do not return to the same world. You return to a version of Earth that has moved on without you. Third harsh truth, even successful interstellar travel is not a return. It is displacement. You are not just traveling through space. You are exiting your original timeline. And that creates a psychological reality no one can fully prepare for. You become a visitor in your own future. Everything familiar becomes historical. Everything personal becomes distant. Even your own identity loses its reference point. Because identity depends on continuity. And continuity is exactly what space travel breaks. Now combine everything. Radiation slowly damages your body. Gravity loss weakens your structure. Isolation reshapes your mind. Time dilation separates you from your origin. This is not a single challenge. It is a full system breakdown of human existence under extreme conditions. And here is the uncomfortable realization most people avoid. Even if physics allowed travel and distances were somehow manageable, the human form itself is not compatible with long-term cosmic movement. We are not built for interstellar survival. We are built for a narrow band of conditions that exist on planetary surfaces like Earth. That is not a limitation in a negative sense. It is definition. Now think about what this means for the idea of human expansion across the stars. It is not just difficult. It is not just far. It is fundamentally misaligned with what a human being is. So the question is no longer, can we go? The question becomes, what changes would we have to become to even survive the attempt? And once you ask that seriously, the dream of space travel stops being about rockets and engines. It becomes about whether the human form as it exists now is even meant to leave its origin at all. After all the distance, after all the speed limits, after all the expansion, after everything that breaks the idea of going out there, one truth remains. The universe was never built to be conquered by movement. It was built to be understood within limits. And that changes everything. You thought space travel meant, because the fantasy is simple, go farther, build bigger engines, reach more stars. But physics is not a ladder you climb forever. It is a system of boundaries you learn to exist inside. And once you see that clearly, a shift happens in how you interpret reality itself. First realization, the universe is not waiting for you to arrive somewhere. There is no end point where exploration becomes complete. No final destination where everything opens up. Instead, there are layers of accessibility, some regions reachable, some only observable, and some permanently outside causal contact forever. That means exploration is not expansion into infinity. It is mapping a shrinking window of possible reach inside an expanding cosmos. Second realization, what you call ignorance of the universe is not just lack of technology. It is a structural limitation built into existence itself. Even the most advanced intelligence possible would still face the same walls. Speed, limits, expansion horizons, energy constraints, and biological fragility. So the idea that progress will eventually remove all barriers is not supported by physics. Progress improves understanding, not permission. And here's the third, most uncomfortable truth. The universe does not owe contact. It does not arrange itself for access. It does not organize itself around curiosity. It simply exists with rules that define what can interact with what. And most of reality will always remain outside direct reach, not because we failed, but because connection itself has limits. Now, this is where the perspective shift becomes personal. Because if space is not something you can fully physically reach, then your relationship with it changes completely. You are no longer a potential traveler of infinite distance. You are an observer inside a bounded region of reality, capable of seeing far beyond what you can touch. That gap between vision and access is not a mistake. It is the core condition of existence. And instead of making reality smaller, it actually makes it more precise. Because meaning is no longer tied to conquest. It is tied to comprehension. So what is the real takeaway? It is this: the value of intelligence is not in reaching everything. It is in understanding the structure that prevents everything from being reached. And once you understand that, something shifts internally. The universe stops being a failed destination for human ambition. It becomes a perfectly constructed system of limits that defines what possible even means. And ignoring that truth leads to a dangerous illusion that everything is eventually reachable if you just try harder, build more, or wait longer. But reality does not operate on effort. It operates on law. And law does not negotiate. So here is the final hard truth to carry with you. You are not living in a universe that is unfinished and waiting for expansion. You are living inside a finished system where most of existence is. Permanently out of reach, and that fact is not a failure of humanity, it is the condition of reality itself. Final call: confront the boundaries. Stop treating the universe like something waiting to be fully crossed. It will not be crossed. Stop assuming distance is just a problem to solve. It is a rule to accept. Because once you understand that some things will never be physically reached, you stop wasting imagination on illusion and start using it on truth. So the real question is not whether humanity will reach the stars. The real question is, will you keep living inside the fantasy that everything is conquerable, or finally face the structure of reality and think beyond the comfort of infinite possibility?